Hello ladies and gentlemen, Nick here and welcome to my review of Batman Begins, the first of the Christopher Nolan directed Batman The Dark Knight trilogy, and the fifth Batman film since 1989, fifth live action since 1989. So, after a pretty bad, let's say, lots of people hate this, after Batman and Robin, which lots of people hated, and I can see why. I don't hate it, but it's easily the weakest live-action Batman film. So after that mistake and a cancelled fifth Batman film, Batman would return in a brand new rebooted trilogy series directed by Christopher Nolan of later Interstellar and Inception fame. In this one's case, by this point he'd done Memento, so of Memento fame. And before Batman joins the DC universe, or nicknamed the DC Cinematic Universe, I suppose it's the worlds of DC or something. We'll just call it the DC universe. So before Batman joined the DC universe, he had to have some sort of fixer-upper films in between. So we got three brilliant films. And we start off with, at this moment, it is my least favourite of the three. But upon rewatching it, I really enjoyed this one even more. And therefore, maybe we'll see how it goes. But the next one is certainly my favourite. And the third one is probably my second favourite. But by the time we get to that, it might swap with the first one. Second one will always be my favourite of the trilogy. We all know why. But more on that next time. So, Batman Begins. But despite it being my least favourite of the series, or potentially second favourite, middle one, if number 3 is lower, after a rewatch, I still think this is a fantastic film. It is just amazing. I've loved most of the story. It was a very good stuff. I wasn't so keen on the prison stuff to start with earlier on, but we don't get much of that. It's early on and we get it hurried out of the way. The non-linear story that runs through the first act works with that, as we see. Well, first of all, we've got to see him, Bruce, in his childhood, and we see where he landed in what would become the Batcave and the bats coming out. Then we see him being recruited by Ra's al Ghul in the prison whilst he's trying to fight crime, and when he goes up to the League of Shadows' base, let's say, the house, we then see a bit more of the story of the past, and as we go along throughout the first act, in the first hour, we get to see a bit more of the Bruce's past and how he came to be there, and why, and also his training with who would become Ra's al Ghul, played by Liam Neeson, or at least he's not called Ra's al Ghul in the first act. He's revealed he is Ra's al Ghul later on. So he trains with them. However, he doesn't completely agree with the League of Shadows' motives. They want to get rid of crime, and he wants to fight. Bruce wants to fight crime, but the League of Shadows wants to completely eradicate it by completely destroying civilization. Let's say, at least the civilizations where they feel too much. So Bruce then has to make his own way back to Gotham City, where he decides to take on the mantle of Batman. Well, become Batman and fight crime in the city. And during this time, there is this evil doctor called Crane, I think it was. It doesn't say there, but Dr. Crane, he's trying to poison. He's scary. He's got this kind of mind-altering drug, and he's got this mask of a scarecrow mask, and he's frightening people basically into madness. And he's trying to do the same with the population of the city with the drug and the water meters, and he's technically in league with the League of Shadows, although more in a case of he thinks they were going to hold the city to ransom whilst the League were actually going to 100% use it. So Batman has to stop Crane, the League of Shadows, and before all that he has to stop Fish Mooney, I believe that was, who was a criminal underworld mob boss who is one of the Scarecrow's victims in this story, as is Bruce's old friend Rachel Dawes / love interest, I should say. Old friend / love interest. Spoiler alerts, next film she finds another one, but he's still Bruce, but they still have feelings for each other. More on that next time. So, along with his butler Alfred and ally Lucius, and without revealing his identity, a police officer called Jim Gordon, who comic fans will know, Batman sets off to stop crime in the city, starting off with Fish Mooney and his gang, then moving on to the Scarecrow, and finally Ra's al Ghul and his attempts to destroy the city. What Raz doesn't seem to be realising is that by doing all of what he's doing here is actually pretty criminal. He's turning more into those criminals. Admittedly, vigilantism is illegal technically, but at least Batman's doing it for the good of the people he's trying to help. But Raz isn't doing that. He's trying to just completely restart the system by killing everyone, including the innocent people. So, yeah, Batman has to stop him. And I think I'm going to have to turn on my light in a second. Hold on. There we go. In case I did move from position, yeah, I did have to get up and go turn it on and then come back down. But editing is my friend. On a good day. So, Batman Begins. Pretty much amazing. It is a brilliant film. Christopher Nolan and his production team have done a fantastic job with this film. The writing is on point. The direction is also on point. It just looks so real. The CGI for most of the time looks really great. There are some dodgier moments, but it's few and far between, and still look more real than some of the stuff in the previous two Batman films, especially the city. Some fantastic filming locations. Also, speaking of CGI, it's also got some fantastic practical stuff. This certainly the practicals are certainly more convincing as well, alongside the visual effects than, again, the previous two films. And the film itself just looks stunning. And this one wasn't filmed in IMAX like the next two. This one it's just so beautiful. Cast, brilliant. Christian Bale is a great Bruce Wayne and Batman. I still prefer Michael Keaton and maybe Ben Affleck. But Christian Bale still pretty much perfect. He's also the current longest serving Batman of 7 years and 3 films. Affleck has done 3 films, one of them uncredited. But in terms of live action film, Batman, Christian Bale has done the most and is the longest serving. I say film because Adam West could be argued, but I thought that was only 65, 66, 67, 68. I'm not sure. Not sure how long the show actually ran for. I think it was a good couple of years. But for films, certainly Christian Bale is the longest running Batman. And did the most installments, at least credited. I don't think Ben Affleck's coming back for the next couple of DC films. Michael Caine is probably my favourite Alfred. I do love Michael Gough and Jeremy Irons, but I think Michael Caine is the best. Also, Michael Caine is one of the actors that could be seen working with in a lot of Christopher Nolan films. I think he's in every one or almost every Nolan film. Nolan is one of those directors who likes to reuse cast members. Cillian Murphy, who is a major character in this film, also, as well as reappearing in the later two films in cameos, is also one of these actors who Nolan uses quite a lot, and I think Tom Hardy and certainly Tom Hardy and Marion Cotillard are ones he's also, and Anne Hathaway are ones that he's either used before or after their The Dark Knight Rises. So, or in Hardy's case, both. And Joseph Gordon-Levitt, I think, as well, possibly. Or before or after, possibly. I'm have to check on that one. I'm not sure about any of the others, but anyway, Michael Caine, fantastic as Alfred, and Cillian Murphy also does a brilliant job as Crane. Katie Holmes does a good job as love interest Rachel. I think she actually does a really good job, all things considered. Maybe Maggie Gyllenhaal takes over for the next film. Maybe she isn't as good as Katie Holmes. I'm not sure. I'll check when I rewatch the next film. We'll see. Morgan Freeman is amazing in everything I've seen him in. So, yeah, and I think Lucius, after his character in Shawshank Redemption, is probably his most defining role. Gary Oldman, also amazing in this film. After Sirius Black, this could be my second favourite Gary Oldman role. Although Shen from Kung Fu Panda 2 also comes very close. Liam Neeson, also fantastic as Ra's al Ghul. And who should we say to round off the main cast? Is that the main cast? I think that is it for the main characters. Yeah. And the main cast are just all fantastic, and it's just a great lineup. And the supporting cast also do really great jobs. There's a lot of great characters, there's a lot of great moments. It's all shown really brilliantly, and it's all executed really well, and the story just complements the stuff brilliantly. I will say this, the story does feel like it's trying to do two stories at once, as well as also showing the origins of Batman. It's also got the Batman fighting the criminal underworld, so it's following on from that, from the training, learning, and he's fighting the underworld. But there seems to be a second story where there's a there's a bit more of a conspiracy going on, and a more of a deadlier plan to destroy the citizens of Gotham. And it's also connected to his training as well because of the League of Shadows. So it does feel like there's two or three stories going on at the same time in the second and third acts onwards. But it's still handled really well. It feels like two stories going on, but it still works as one great big one, and it's just marvelously executed. This is a brilliant way to restart the Batman universe. It's a shame it's only 3 films, and these films are not part of the DC universe. We had to start again with that one, with Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice. But I can safely say this film more than makes up for the mistakes that both Batman Forever and Batman and Robin had. On my overall Batman film list, this had come 5th, and it had been under the other 2 films in this one, as well as the first 2, the Tim Burton 2, which were 2nd and 4th, so the other 2 of this were 1 and 3. But after rewatching this, I might probably put this over Batman Returns, that if that one goes to a 9, and if the first one goes to a 9 as well, over that one, although I really enjoyed those first 2, especially the first one of that. Forever I had fun with, mainly with Jim Carrey's The Joker, but I don't think the story was quite up to scratch. And then Batman and Robin wasn't very good. I'm going to have to rewatch those 4 films as well, maybe later down the line. But certainly, I think this one might have taken over Batman Returns, so it might now be 4th, maybe even 3rd if it's better than the first film. But I think the first one was probably going to be a 10 or 9, very high 9 at least, first Tim Burton one. This is the first of the Nolan ones. So I'm going to give Batman Begins. I had such a great time with this one, and it was such a good story as well. So I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. Yeah, I just signed 10. Just might as well. I mean, I thought maybe 9, but you know, it was a very quick and maybe not so easy, but quick decision to give it a 10. And I don't think it should be a 9 because it's just done so well. And I'd probably say the same for this next. I will say the same for the next one. And if the third one stays second place of the trilogy ranking for me, then that one as well. But it was definitely a 9 beforehand, so it was this, to be honest, and the two Tim Burton ones. But if Dark Knight Rises can be it's still better than this, then it will probably be a 10 as well. Same for the original Batman, the 1989 Batman, that is. Batman Returns probably won't. But the one that will be more than definite will be the next film, The Dark Knight, which is also the next film I'll be watching in my Introduction to Theory module as part of my Film Studies and Media Studies university course, as I mentioned after my Clio from 5 to 7 review. And if you've seen that review, then you'll know that this week's film, that film, which was this week's film at time of recording, was disappointing and dull. But next week it's The Dark Knight, so we'll be in for a treat, and it'll more than make up for what we had to go through this week with Cleo from 5 to 7. But as for Batman Begins, it's a brilliant way to kickstart this trilogy, and The Dark Knight's just going to take it to new heights. And Rises will also will have a great conclusion as well. So, yeah, so Batman Begins. Next time, The Dark Knight. Anything else, we'll see when they come along. But until then, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the official Nicholas Payne Retro YouTube channel. So, Batman Begins. Absolutely outstanding. It's, well, not quite as outstanding as its follow-up. Let's start again.